The following program is a peer-to-peer advice show and does not diagnose mental health conditions. If you're seeking social services, please call or text 211 or go to 211.ca. Hello, listeners on Saga 960 AM and those listening around the world on streaming and podcast services. This is It's Not Therapy. I'm Leanna Kersner, and I am not a therapist, but I am your source for practical advice for everyday problems using my top 10 sayings for checking in with your best self. Tonight, we've got not one, but two interviews, jam-packed show. Jason Bradshaw, one of Canada's top teachers from right here in Peel Region, is back to talk teacher burnout, and Tania Kolar, host of Saga 960 AM's The Mindset Mentor, is back from a hiatus to talk post-traumatic growth. But first, a question inspired by last week's talk about positivity. If you want to ask a question, you can call in 289-275-9600. That's 289-275-9600. Or you can email your question with our new simplified email address, Liana@nottherapyshow.com. That's Liana, Lian as in Nancy A, at nottherapyshow.com. Or you can get in touch on Twitter and Instagram at Not Therapy Show. So many ways to communicate in this modern age. Anyway, so enough goofing. Oh, who am I kidding? There'll be plenty of goofing around this show because it's fun. But we have a question from Zach about a not fun time in Zach's life. Zach says, at the end of my marriage, I'm fairly certain my partner was cheating on me. Consequently, I felt intense emotional pain and a sense of betrayal. I was the sole income during the 2 years of corona lockdowns and was working brutal hours. She spent heaps of time home alone with very little human interaction. We were also fighting a lot, not communicating or doing anything together as a couple. We have split up now. Moving forward and attempting dating again has been hard. I find myself intensely scared of emotional intimacy and letting another person in. Looking to the future, what are some positive steps to take to get through this? Now, astute listeners can probably hear a lot tangled up in Zach's experience. Recovering from trauma, especially betrayal, is like untangling a ball of yarn. Pull in the right places, it untangles. Pull in the wrong places, it becomes a bunch of knots. So the goal is to pull those strands gently. And the first step, the first place to pull may sound counterintuitive. Zach, stop trying to figure out what the heck was going on. You don't know. You'll never know. You're speculating. What your ex was doing is not your story. Top 10 saying, probably the most common saying I say. Be the hero of your own story, not anyone else's. The things that are continuing to hurt you happened off screen. It's off the page. They're only a part of your story in your mind. The tangible thing, the thing you know, is a trust broke down between you. That's what matters. You trusted someone and they disappointed you. Anyone would be scared after that happens in a big way, like the breakdown of a romantic relationship, a committed romantic relationship. Now, of course, the story from here, where you hear with most advice is, you have to learn to trust again. People have to learn to trust again. That's not the advice I'm going to give here, Zach. I'd say it's more, you have to learn how to create opportunities for trust again. Now, why do I say this? Because trust is inherently earned. It happens in its own time, and it is a process. And if you're scared of emotional intimacy, it's not time to start dating again because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust the situation. It's going to be very, very hard, if not impossible, for you to trust another person. That's what cheating, that's what betrayal does. It rattles our sense of self. It rattles the idea that we're lovable, that, we deserve fidelity, that we deserve commitment. Of course you deserve it, Zach, but a lot of people get rattled this way. And to make this a bit fun and to keep this sort of bro energy, I'm going to use a metaphor from one of my favorite movie series ever. Okay, the Rocky series, the Sylvester Stallone Rocky movies. I love the Rocky movies because they are man feelings communicated through a story about dudes punching each other, right? So, okay, Zach, it's not time to get into the ring for a rematch with Apollo Creed right now. It's time to do that infamous training montage, he runs up the stairs and drinks the raw eggs and punches a side of beef, that stuff. You're in training montage territory right now, Zach. Healthy goals are about things you can control, Zach. Top 10 saying right there. Okay. This, the only thing you can control is your ability to, in Rocky terms, go the distance. You're just a man and his will to survive. Okay, enough messing around. I can't sing copyrighted material on the radio. Sorry, Zach. I'm trying to make this light because, you've clearly been through a rough time. And now we're going to get real and we're going to get touchy-feely. Intimacy is inherently vulnerable. Intimacy isn't the TV form of intimacy that isn't at all intimate because it's one ultra-confident person meeting another ultra-confident person, and they are ultra-confident together with perfect lighting everywhere, perfect makeup everywhere, perfect hair everywhere. That's not life. People want confidence in dates and partners and romantic prospects because everyone has parts of themselves that are a mess. So people want someone they can reasonably rely on for support so they don't have to do all their own work, all their own emotional heavy lifting, and then be the one, the majority of the time doing the emotional heavy lifting for their partner. And a lot of people feel like they end up in that situation, and that doesn't foster intimacy because intimacy, again, is about being vulnerable. But here's the thing about vulnerability. In its simplest form, it's a choice to take a risk. And I'm going to jump from Rocky to another one of my top 3 favorite film franchises of all time, at least the original trilogy, Star Wars, okay? Intimacy and vulnerability is Yoda, man. There is no try. Do it or not. Right? There's my Yoda impression. Made you laugh. No one feels good being pushed into intimacy, Zach. And a lot of people in your situation go, I got to get back out there. But that's trying to force yourself to do something that can't be forced. And this is where the training montage comes in. Romantic relationships are a subcategory of friendships. So trust training is reestablishing friendships that tend to lapse during bad relationships. And then you make new friends so that you can reconnect with that idea of feeling emotionally safe, even in small ways. Not dating for a while is a totally valid choice. You got time. If you need some motivation to not date, use some mantra, like here's my Yoda impression again. Ready? Jedi form attachments do not. Right? Training montage, Zach. Training montage. Okay? Any ridiculous, stupid, funny voice thing that keeps your state of mind positive. Here's the real deal. It's not fair to a future partner for you to get involved with them when you're still processing your past. To use the Star Wars cliche, trust your feelings, Zach. Top 10 saying. Self-esteem starts with self-compassion. Being trusting and being gullible aren't the same thing. So stop beating yourself up because someone else took the best parts of you and used them as a punching bag. When you do that, you're just continuing the beat down you took in your relationship. And okay, Rocky can take a beating, yes, go the distance, but everybody has limits. There's also the fact that your marriage broke down during COVID lockdown. So there's definitely extenuating circumstances territory. And just because something happened in the past, especially with these extenuating circumstances, doesn't mean it'll repeat itself in future. A lot of relationships end emotionally long before the couple separates, and it sounds like that's what happened in your situation. So here's the thing. No matter what, when you eventually are ready to start dating again and you find someone who's a much better fit for you, you're going to have something to compare this new relationship to. So now you're going to value it more. You're going to recognize the differences between the dysfunctional relationship of the past and the healthier relationship of your present. And that'll be that positive motivation to communicate effectively, talk more and fight less, and really enjoy the time you have with your new partner. A failed relationship, Zach, can teach us a lot. Very few people meet the love of their life right away. Lots of people find, new fulfillment well into later life. So, do that training. Be accountable for the things you could have done better. Don't blame yourself for things you couldn't control. And the trust and intimacy will come when it's earned. When it's earned. You're worth it, Zach. You deserve this. Thanks for your question. If you want to ask a question on It's Not Therapy, you can call 289-275-9600, or you can email Liana at nottherapyshow.com. That's Liana at nottherapyshow.com. Or Twitter, Instagram, at Not Therapy Show. That's probably the easiest for a lot of people. It's easiest to remember. Not Therapy Show on Twitter and Instagram. After the break, we're going to talk about teacher burnout, because you can't experience growth until you deal with your trauma. But it won't be therapy, because I am not a therapist. We'll be back soon. Saga 960 AM. The following program is a peer-to-peer advice show and does not diagnose mental health conditions. If you're seeking social services, please call or text 211 or go to 211.ca. Saga 960 AM, It's Not Therapy. I am Leanna, and we are talking about teacher burnout. We have a return guest for the interview this episode, Jason Bradshaw, teacher with Peel District, award-winning science educator, 2021 Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence recipient. Last time Jason was on talking about student stress. Now he's back to talking about teacher stress, because teacher burnout is a major problem in province of Ontario and across North America, possibly around the world. Jason, I've been reading, it's a 20-year trend. This started in the 90s with the restrictions on compensation, supports, and then increases in class size. And we've hit critical mass even before the pandemic. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, everything you've just said, just add the pandemic on top of that, and it's just made it considerably worse.
Now, I mean, class sizes to me blow my mind. There's less and less you can do with more and more kids now. And there is, research says there is a critical mass. Ideal is 12 kids to every one teacher. You guys are handling 2.5 times that on a regular basis, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, what does teacher burnout look like? We talk about burnout, but I don't think people stop and realize what it means. And so a lot of people don't realize it's happening to them until they have serious mental and physical health consequences. So what does teacher burnout look like?
I think it can manifest itself in so many ways. And sadly, I'm seeing it more now than I ever have in my entire career. And there's obviously the things you'd expect to see: people being tired, fatigued, unfortunately getting sick more often, which is, made all the worse during a pandemic. But sometimes it can also just be apathy and just not having what you used to have available to you to put into this job. And for a teacher, that is really soul crushing, I think, because despite what people say about, people getting into the job for the summers off and whatnot, in my experience, and I think there's a lot of data that actually backs this up, there's a huge amount of teachers who leave the profession within their first 5 years. And I think a lot of the times that is the people who get into it for the wrong reasons. Because again, if you get into teaching because you think summers off is, like a really sweet deal. And I won't lie, we're compensated well in Ontario. Not everywhere can say that. If you get into it just for the salary and the summers off, you're going to realize that there's easier ways to get these things. There are jobs that pay just as well, and it's not as taxing on you emotionally and even physically sometimes. And so I think that for teachers, when you start to get to the point where you don't have the passion anymore because you're just so spent, like that's when the burnout really settles in. And I know that there are ways, like people do take leaves of absence, but a lot of people don't. Like I think a lot of people don't realize that's an option that they have, or they think it's not something that they can do because of financial reasons. But there are options. And yeah, it's just it's sad when you see teachers just start to lose that spark, and instead of the passion, it just becomes a chore for them to just get through teaching the curriculum and going home at night.
And you're also picking up on the stresses and the struggles of your students, right? I mean, there's always some kid going through really serious real life stuff, and as a feeling human being, as a helper profession, that you take that home at the end of the day sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what you're saying. It's you take home that emotional stress sometimes because you try to obviously have a certain level of professional detachment, but at the same time, like these kids, you work with them so much that like sometimes you speak about them as if they're your own kids. You you're always thinking about them, and you can't really turn that off. And that's also the benefit of the job too, and that you can get so much joy from that and just the relationships that you form with kids. But it's also where the emotional taxing part of it comes from as well, because you feel it when things happen, and that same kind of emotional investment that you have for people who are close to you in your life, your friends and your family. You can't help but feel some of that for your students too. So again, I think that one of the signs of burnout is when you start to become a little bit numb to that, and that's another warning sign, I think, that something's wrong. If you're not feeling that connection, and it just becomes like very clinical to you when you're working with students, then something may be wrong.
Yeah. Now, how do you manage burnout? I've seen your tweets. It's like, I'm going to bed before 10:30 tonight. Go me. So how do you manage burnout in your profession? How do you know when you need to take a rest, and what are your self-care tips?
For me, it's being aware when you're approaching that level, and just allowing yourself to take the time to take care of yourself, to go to bed at before 10:30 one night, to not feel guilty if you're not working during the weekends or during the evenings, because it's like I feel that I'm not alone in this. I think a lot of teachers feel this way, that we bring work home with us. We bring home papers to grade and projects we're working on for our classes and whatnot, to prepare things for our students. And you feel guilty if you don't do anything, if you just sit back and watch a Jays game during the evening. But you need to allow yourself that, even if it's something that you specifically make time for. Like for me, I'm trying to do work-free Sundays. Like I'm trying to just, even if it means that I have to do a little bit of a grind on Friday night or Saturday, Sunday I am just like turning on my PS5 and like playing some video games, catching up on some anime or something. And it's just, you need to take care of yourself, whatever it takes to kind of refill your bucket. you need to do that. And also you need to make time for your friends and your family, which is something that I will admit I'm terrible at. I'm terrible at just hanging out with my friends during the school year.
Right.
It's always like, like in summer, we catch up in summer, it's like trying to do like a year's worth of social activity in 2 months.
Well, that's sort of a
So,
Canadian thing too, right? Just because of our winters.
yeah, I guess that's true as well. But I think I'm particularly bad at it. And I mean, well, I guess I'm a bit of an introvert to begin with. So I guess I also use that as a bit of an excuse. It's like, I can't hang out tonight. I got to grade papers. But I'm not doing myself a service when I do that. I do need to, because the thing about being an introvert is you don't always seek out the social situations, but usually when you experience them, you're usually glad that you did. So I think I do need to encourage myself to do that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm an introvert as well. And, when I talk to people and they mention they have a PS5 too, I get very excited and completely distracted in a professional context. Me right now. I will ask you what you're playing off air. Final question. What can we as just, civilians do to support teachers and other frontline workers during this ongoing pandemic's not over, people? Period. What can we do to make things easier on you?
I think we just all need to realize that everyone is literally doing the best that they can right now. And we're going to fall short sometimes. We're going to screw up. We're going to make mistakes, but just understand that we are literally doing our best. And I kick myself all the time when I make mistakes, like, maybe a parent emails me and I don't get back to them until like a week or two later. And I feel awful about it, but we're all in the state right now where we're under a lot of stress. And it's like the only thing I would ask is just that people be patient and understand that I guarantee you that your child's teacher is doing their absolute best. And their priority is to support your child. Like we are all doing our best to support our students. And yeah, we're gonna fall short sometimes. We're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna, take a little bit longer to get back to you sometimes. And just forgive us and be patient.
Yeah, stress is a short-term memory eater and a systemized thinking eater. So yeah, those emails are the first thing that tends to go. Jason Bradshaw, award-winning Peel Region Teacher, 2021 Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence recipient. That sounds so humble. Recipient, award winner. Jason is a winner in my books. Thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, thank you.
And when we come back after this commercial break, got another guest. You won't want to miss this one. Tania Kolar is returning to Saga 960 AM as the host of The Mindset Mentor. She's going to talk post-traumatic growth, sharing some of her own story. You're not going to want to miss this one right after these commercial breaks. It's not therapy. I am not a therapist. Saga 960 AM. The following program is a peer-to-peer advice show and does not diagnose mental health conditions. If you're seeking social services, please call or text 211 or go to 211.ca. Saga 960 AM. We're back on It's Not Therapy. I am Leanna Kersner. I am still not a therapist. And we're back with the second interview of the evening. We're back with a fellow Saga 960ian. Is that a thing? I don't know. I have Tania Kolar here. Tania is the host of The Mindset Mentor that's coming back from a hiatus on June 2nd at 3 p.m. So before my show next week, guys, that's why she's on this week. Tania is an author, speaker, mindset coach, entrepreneur, and president of Ignite Life Mastery Incorporated. She's also the author of, I love the title of this book, Breaking the Stupid Mode. And Tania is big on gratitude and empowerment and mindset. Obviously, we have a lot in common. Tania, thank you so much for coming on It's Not Therapy.
Leanna, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, we're talking about post-traumatic growth this week, and you've just come off of, you've been away for a year, correct?
Yeah, it's been just shy of a year. I was off. I was experiencing breast cancer, and so I was doing chemotherapy treatments, and I had a couple of surgeries, and so I am back, and I'm back in action. I'm feeling great, and I'm ready to get things started.
And a lot of people hear cancer and it's like, oh my God, and breast cancer, even more like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want your experience? You said experiencing breast cancer, which I found that an interesting choice of words because it's something that happened to you, not something you are. Did I pick up on something meaningful there?
Yeah, absolutely. Very observant, because I think that we can get locked and fixed into labels, and that becomes, a mindset issue. And so we identify with that. So for me, I choose to say I experienced breast cancer because that is not my identity. That is not who I am. And also I find that we need to make a decision early on. And I understand why people will say, I'm battling cancer or I'm struggling with cancer, and that's all great. But for me, I don't choose to say that. I choose to say that I'm experiencing it. I chose early on when I was diagnosed with breast cancer that I was going to be the happiest person with cancer. Because again, my soul identity has not changed. I am who I am. And I chose to focus my mindset on the positives. And I think, you had mentioned the topic is post-traumatic growth. And it's such a great topic because we've all experienced challenges in life. And when you experience a challenge that shakes you to your core, it is such a gift because there's opportunity. And that opportunity is really where your life starts to unfold in magical ways. So I think it's really important that we look at our, challenges, our struggles, or the battles, so to speak, and mine that experience for the gift. Because I can promise you, if you look hard enough, you will find the gift. But, I've done that in my life in the past. I've had post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm talking like many, many years ago. And, I did experience post-traumatic growth, but it was a very long process. And so now, having gone through the experience of breast cancer, I approached it in a different way. And I thought, well, I don't want to wait to the end to find the gift. I'm going to look at it that this is an opportunity for me. It's something for me. It's for me to take care of myself first and foremost, right? To have that knowledge of putting myself first, taking care of my needs, but also to recognize that I have been given a gift, and that gift is to be able to help other people who are going through something similar, right? And it doesn't have to be obviously, cancer or even a disease. We all have experienced challenges in life that do literally shake your core being and really bring up, your values. So for me, I look at it as it's a gift, and I'm grateful for it.
For those of you just tuning in, we're talking to Tania Kolar, who's the host of the Mindset Mentor, coming back to June 2nd. That's next Thursday at 3 p.m. Now, Tania, I have this series of top 10 phrases I say on the show because I repeat them so often. Yep. And I heard one of those in what you just said. I say, ignoring negatives isn't being positive. And, you said both that something shook you to your core, but also you found a gift. And to me, that sounds like it's sort of saying the same thing in different ways. So yeah. How do you balance recognizing, well, this is something legitimately terrible, but also, okay, what can I do with that?
Yeah. So I think it's really important to process your feelings and your emotions, right? So the thing is, a lot of people get stuck in, well, I'm not allowed to be negative. So therefore I'm going to suppress my emotions. But what happens is when you're suppressing your emotions and you're denying that natural cycle, that you are going to cause issues down the road because, what you, ignore is going to persist, right? What you resist persists. And so it's so important to allow allow yourself to feel the emotion, but yet at the same time to not get stuck there, because it can be very easy for us to get stuck in a victimhood mentality. And that's where the labels, come into play with our mindset. You want to watch the language, because your language really is going to help to dictate the quality of your life. So you want to be mindful of that language. But I do feel that it is super essential to recognize where you're at. And it's okay to feel, depressed, and to feel sad, and to, feel the hurt, honor those feelings and let them pass. So once you allow that emotion to come up, it'll be there, and it's going to pass. It's going to subside. So don't be afraid of that emotion, but recognize that, when it's time to step out of that, then allow yourself the good that is right there for you. It is right there. And so oftentimes people feel that, I'm not allowed to be happy when something really bad is going on in my life, or when something really bad is going on in somebody else's life that's close to you, right? Sometimes people have a hard time reconciling that fact. But, what I've certainly come to understand is that, you don't have to be, wait for everything in your life to be perfect, because it's never going to be perfect, in its entirety, right? And so we wait for the external sometimes, so in order for us to be happy. But the happiness is an inside job, and that happens in a moment, and that happens in every moment. It's a choice.
It's always so interesting to hear the language that other people use for the same basic concepts, right? I mean, it's one of these things of these things are simple, but they're absolutely not easy. And that, that idea of happiness being a choice, that idea of don't wait for your life to be perfect. I mean, I say over and over and over again, perfect people don't exist, right? Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to make your life perfect.
Yeah.
How do people take the first steps? Because I explain it one way, you're probably going to explain it a completely different way, and your way might click for some people better. How do people take those first steps away from the stupid mold, away from feeling stuck, and into that paradigm of growth?
So the first step, which is going to get you 75% of the way there, is awareness. And willingness. So you need to be willing to get from where you are to a different place that's better for you moving forward. And whatever that looks like for you, right? Everyone has their own definition, but you have to have that willingness to move forward. And once you have that willingness, it's simply a matter of also recognizing our patterns. We have, our what I call a mold, which is our fixed habits, our patterns, our thoughts, and our beliefs. And they are, they really come to identify who we are, and it shapes our perspective. So we view everything from that lens, from that mold. It shapes our identity. And so when we start to challenge and question some of the situations that come up in some of our thinking, then that can really, that is the start, that is the catalyst for massive change. And so I always encourage people to start to tune in and tap into your thought pattern, listen to your language. And if you just spend a little bit of time, it's so interesting how you will see the pattern. There is a pattern. Everybody has a pattern. And it's actually quite easy sometimes for other people to recognize our pattern and our fixed habits and our beliefs, and we can be absolutely oblivious to them. And yet it dictates our entire lives. I call it the silent dictator buried in the subconscious, because it is controlling everything that you do, everything that you think. So when we can start to take back control, it's simply a matter of just tapping in, listening, honoring your feelings, seeing what's coming up, and questioning those feelings. If you look at a situation, arguments are a good example of this. When you have an argument with anyone, it could be a romantic partner, a business partner, or a friend, whatever. When a fight happens, you have an argument. Oftentimes, some people, they don't even know why they're arguing anymore, but they just know that they're super mad. And really, if you start to dissect it, are you mad at what was said, what happened, or is it something else? Because those emotions, and particularly the ones that we suppress, it's like an onion onion and you're peeling away those layers. So someone's triggered you, and that's why you're so upset. We can be very, our anger can be disproportionate to what's actually happening. And that's a really good sign that, hey, something is like not right within me, within yourself, that you want to take a look at. Your body, is giving you a signal saying, hey, listen, there's something here that you have not dealt with, you have not processed, and it wants you to process those feelings. So it provides you with those opportunities in life. So it's just a matter of harvesting that experience, looking for what's underneath the emotion, what's underneath the surface of that argument that you had that's triggered you.
Yeah, PTS really makes you confront that, doesn't it? When that idea of patterns that trigger, there comes a point in time where you can't excuse the triggers anymore, right? You can't explain them away. You can't say, I can't. That willingness component that you mentioned is exactly what I'm talking about regarding, it's so simple, and yet it is actually hard. That was something I had to confront myself, is that I finally realized that your brain is going, yeah, okay, I see that these changes might work, but they're terrifying. And that willingness to take that risk is, again, simple, but not easy, right? And examining those patterns, it does feel like a bit of a breaking down of self, doesn't it? A deconstruction of self so that you can rebuild. And that's the difference between being stuck. That's the difference between being post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic growth. So one of the biggest things is support systems, and not everybody has that. How can people do things, because it's never a perfect situation, to support themselves and other people while they're going through that questioning, that deconstruction, that pull down to build up process? What's your advice?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and a support system is absolutely key. And now, if there's somebody that is not going to be supportive, then that's not necessarily that person that you're going to want to share, how you're feeling with and what's going on with you. But there are other people around, whether they're friends or they're professionals who can help. You can join a support group. You can reach out. You can listen to shows like the Mindset Mentor. You can listen to shows like It's Not Therapy, like yours, Leanna, and get some guidance in that way. Because listen, I want everybody to know you are never alone, never, even though it feels like it. Right. So, reach out and don't be afraid to express what's going on with you, because the best thing that you can do in life is to be your authentic self. And when we hide and when we're afraid, it blocks in our lives. So, and I know that can be, a difficult step for a lot of people. I get it. I was like that as well. I didn't share anything, and I was used to just suppressing it all, and if you really can't reach out and have a conversation, then I would say start doing some writing, start doing some journaling, get it out on paper. Oftentimes when you can get out, what's in your mind onto paper, it dissipates. The strength and the intensity of what you're feeling will start to subside when it's on paper. It's much more manageable, and so that's a really great start. So start with that, take baby steps and honor yourself when you take those steps, because it can be very challenging. And just know that, in life, there are things that have served us. We've acted, certain ways in the past, and, it's protected us, it's helped us, it maybe served us for a period of time. But there comes that moment when you can now separate yourself from that and say, you know what, this is no longer working for me. And I want change, and I want something better for myself. And that psychological, struggle that we experience, can really lead to immense positive growth, right? Again, it's an opportunity for us to really challenge those core beliefs that we have and analyze. And if this is still serving us, and listen, if it is serving you, then keep it. And if it's not, then find something else, then move forward in a way that's going to empower yourself. Find the meaning in that struggle, because there's personal growth available to you. It's always there. And whatever you look for, you're going to find. So if you're always going to look for the negative, that's what's going to dominate. But let me tell you that the negative and the positive exist simultaneously. So look for the one that is going to serve you, because your life will be so much better for it.
Tania Kolar, president of Ignite Life Mastery, host of The Mindset Mentor, coming back to Saga 960 AM June 2nd at 3 p.m. and the author of Breaking the Stupid Mold. Tania, thank you so much. Would love to have you back sometime just to chat stuff, because love what you're doing. I think there's not enough of this stuff out there. So thank you so much.
Leanna, it's been my pleasure. Thank you so much. I'd be happy to be back anytime.
Tania Kolar, the Mindset Mentor, coming back to Saga 960 next Thursday. Check out her book, Breaking the Stupid Mold. When we come back after the break, I'm going to make the connection. I'm going to give you some tools, some things you can use to move from trauma and burnout to growth and happiness. Yes, it is possible. Stay tuned on It's Not Therapy. I am not a therapist, but I am Lana Kersner, Saga 960 AM. The following program is a peer-to-peer advice show and does not diagnose mental health conditions. If you're seeking social services, please call or text 211 or go to 211.ca. Welcome back to It's Not Therapy. I'm Leanna Kersner. I am still not a therapist, and we don't have a lot of time left. So I want to do a recap because we were sort of all over the place this show, and I want to make sure the central theme isn't getting lost. This episode, we heard about people who've lost their spark. Then we heard from someone who got that spark back. I want to talk about the space in between, when you feel lost and don't know how to get found. Trauma and burnout are things that happen to us. As Tania said, they don't have to become our identity. Too often, however, they do become our identity. We believe our diagnosis is who we are, as opposed to a descriptor, a tool designed to help us. The healthcare system can't tell us who we are. This is the issue for me with the concept of mental health. Health deals with disease and treatment. You have diabetes, you take insulin or something like metformin. You have an infection, you take antibiotics. Treatment of the mind and the soul is more like physiotherapy than that sort of medicine. Yeah, there are anti-inflammatory drugs and ice to ease the pain, but you still have to do those exercises or you don't get improvements. That's because things like trauma, burnout, they're more mental injuries than mental illness. And we all know physical injuries take time to heal. And then you have to build strength back again. The mental and emotional equivalents of this are resilience, self-compassion. And in order to be strong in these ways, you need to take the time to do the training. That Rocky montage, right? This sounds so simple, but a lot of people don't do it. Both of our guests this show brought this up. That guilty feeling Jason Bradshaw mentioned stops us from taking care of ourselves and setting boundaries. Tania mentioned taking time to feel your feelings, to allow yourself those moments. When you crash head on into trauma, you either adapt or you stay in trauma. Taking those moments becomes an immediate essential thing instead of something that you don't have time for today. To me, that was the gift Tania mentioned, the opportunity. And it's really hard to see that when you're at a low point, when the emotional injury hasn't started to heal. And it can make you really angry and frustrated to hear that a gift is there at all. Because gifts sound good, right? But they probably always seem to go to other people. Here's the thing. Those gifts go to other people because those people are taking time to receive them. They're taking time to accept them. They're taking time to feel their feelings. Feelings are feedback, not failures. So If you're not feeling your feelings, you're denying yourself that feedback. You're blocking out the negatives, but you're also blocking out the positives. In order to feel one, you have to feel both. That's the only way to accept the gifts. That's the first step to post-traumatic growth, feeling your feelings, experiencing your experiences, accepting the darkness so that you can see the light. And once you get those, you'll get shapes, then colors, and life will take on new meaning and wonder. That's what post-traumatic growth feels like. Suddenly, everything seems brighter, richer, more vibrant, safer, more exciting. Life feels better because you're through the bad. And that's when you feel gratitude. But the first step is understanding, that awareness Tania mentioned. And a lot of people need someone else to understand before they can understand themselves. That's why I started doing this work, to provide supports to the therapeutic process that I didn't have when I was going through it. Tania's right. You are not alone. Reach out. Very least, send me a tweet or an Instagram message at Not Therapy Show. Send me an email at leanna@nottherapyshow.com. Talk to a friend. Hug your pet or a family member. Or a tree. I hug trees. No, really, I hug trees. I hug a lot of things. I hugged a cannon at Fort Henry when I was a kid. I also hug mascots. I love mascots. The Japanese are onto something, man. Write, draw, paint, sing, dance, laugh, scream, cry, and take in the silences. Watch your favorite movie. Play your favorite game. All of these experiences exist for a reason. You don't have to be good at them as long as they feel good without you feeling bad later. This isn't wasted time. It's the training montage. In short, get out of your own way. Stop denying yourself things for no good reason. You deserve better. That's our time for this week. Next week, we're going to get into how art can help us heal, the thing I touched on just a few seconds ago. Until then, I'm Leanna Kersner. I am not a therapist, but I am here for you, as are a lot of people you might not be seeing right now because all you can see is dark. So do whatever you can this week to let in the light. Remember, your crazy is only a problem if it's hurting you. Until next time, go watch Rocky and Star Wars. No, really, if you've never seen Rocky, it's freaking awesome, man. And Star Wars, start with the original trilogy, then go back. You'll be like, what is this? But no, really. Nah, I guess you can watch it. Don't let me tell you how to Star Wars. Use Star Wars in your own way. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking the time. Remember, training montage.